Hi guys, it's Denise and Willis of K Homestead. Well, this evening we are going to be making some sauerkraut, and Willis is doing his job, which is cutting it all up for me. And he's got it to this size right now, and then I'm going to put this in the food processor because we would like ours a little bit less, well, not so big. I don't know what size you'd call it. But anyway, I'm going to do that, and then I will show you guys how we do this. This is the way Willis's mom and his grandma did it, and he taught me this way, and that's the way we've been doing it, and it turns out really great, and it's very easy, so I hope you give it a try. Okay, so we're here at the food processor, and that's the way I get my kraut down to the texture and the size that I want it. But there's other ways to do it by hand. And Willis's mom and grandma used to use, see if you guys can see this tool, which is very old. And what you do, and I'm going to go ahead and show you. Let me put the tripod down here so you can actually see what we're doing. Just a little technical difficulty. Okay, so you get yourself a big bowl. And I'm using this clear one because I want you to see exactly what I'm doing here. So what you're going to do with this is you use it like there's the handle, and you go in here and you just use that to cut it up. Can y'all hear me what I'm doing here? Let me get a little closer so you actually see what. Now this is what you can do if you don't have a food processor. And it cuts it up really nice. And it's not that hard to do it. It just takes a long time. And if you have carpal tunnel arthritis like me, it is a little difficult on the wrist. But that's a good old-fashioned way to use this tool. And I guess this is basically all this tool is for, isn't it, Willis? Yeah, this was created just for sauerkraut. So.
Mom used to build a big one of them old-fashioned dish pans. They used to be metal, or maybe aluminum. I can't remember now, but they were big round dish pans, plumb full of cabbage. And you sit there and just chop it. Just go through the whole dish pan chopping it until it's just all chopped up.
Her wrist must have ached after this.
Well, she was in her 30s back then.
Oh, yeah.
I was just a kid.
Yeah.
When she got older, I'm sure she could do it.
When you're younger, you don't have carpal tunnel, and both Willis and I have carpal tunnel now. But anyways, this is pretty good to the consistency that you want for your sauerkraut. Now, when I put it in the food processor, it may get a little bit smaller than that, but that's okay because it's going to ferment, and you're going to use it on things like hot dogs or with your pork chops and things like that, and as a side dish, so that'll be all right. So that's one way to do it. Now, the way that I do it these days is with and I know this is an oldie but a goodie. It has lasted me a long time, and I hope it doesn't go out. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in here. And I've just got the regular blade on it. I don't have any fancy blade on this one. And I had a new food processor, and I always had this old one. This was given to me a long time ago, and the lady that gave it to me has since passed away, and she had it. I think this is from like the 90s, and this thing is still going. So that's a testament to the way that the companies used to make their stuff, Because I had a new one before I moved to Tennessee that burnt up.
Yeah, they make stuff now purposely to not last long.
It's awful. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of pulse it. That's really all you want to see the size. Alright, I need it a little bit smaller. I'm going to try to match it to the size of what I just chopped a few minutes ago, guys. Okay. And there we go. And you just put it in your bowl. And you just continue doing this until you've got all that you want to put in your jar. So this is the blade I'm using. Now I think we're probably going to try to do at least 9 jars. It is not processed. It is once we get this in the jars and we pack it down, you want to pack it down, and I've got a little tool that I use to pack it down with. You put a teaspoon of salt in each jar, and then you hand tighten your lid and ring, and then you put it in a cool, dark place. And we put that in our master bedroom closet where we keep our potatoes because it's cool and dark in there. And you wait about 6 months, and you will have the most wonderful fermented sauerkraut, won't you?
Yeah, it'll stink the house up for a while.
Yeah, it will, but
It's worth it.
it is. Our bedroom's on one end of our house. But this takes a lot of the time out of it. Doing it this way.
Or you got a storm cellar you can put.
I wish we did. Where we live, it's kind of wet. It'd be hard to do a storm cellar, wouldn't it? Here.
Yeah.
I'd like to have one, though. I mean, you can get the fiberglass ones inserted in the ground for tornadoes. But you know, the house that I grew up in, you guys have seen on videos, they just had a place under the house that they built in the dirt.
That's what we did when we were kids.
Yeah. And it was just, they built little shelves in the dirt. And it was really neat. I wish I could get a video of that, but my mom's got it all blocked off now.
Put potatoes under there.
Yeah, potatoes, sweet potatoes. When they moved in the house in 71, Dad went under there and found it. And it's part of the house is 200 years old, and it has the old stone foundation that's stacked up. It's really neat, you know?
Yeah.
So it just takes.
Helping my grandpa dig a hole out in the field to bury potatoes.
Really?
Yeah, he would line it with like, I can't really remember what he lined it with, dig a hole. He'd line it. We put all the potatoes in there we did. And then cover it with like tar paper or something.
Oh.
And then put the dirt back on top of that. And all winter long you can go out there and dig it.
I wonder what he lined it with.
I can't remember. Maybe it's tar paper.
You have to ask one of your uncles
Something to keep
sometimes.
water from coming in. That's how they store potatoes.
Yeah. We keep ours in our master bedroom closet. So for this, it's like 3 or 4 pulses, and it gets it to a nice consistency that I want.
If it got too hot in the house,
Oh yeah.
yeah, potatoes start sprouting. Through the winter.
Yeah. Well, those old farmhouses, it probably wasn't insulated, was it?
No, and the only place you had to put them was upstairs, and that's where all the heat went.
Yeah. He said, Willis said his grandparents used to put the peanuts up there and sweet potatoes on the second floor in newspapers, and they used to cure them and dry them up there.
Big fodder beans are hanging on the wall.
Oh, I wish I had pictures of that. Old-fashioned goodness, man.
Flying squirrels flying around up there, they get in the house. That's for real.
I believe you. We had flying squirrels in Virginia. Now, if you guys find that you're doing the food processor and you find you've got chunks like that, just kind of take them out and do them in the next batch because you don't want them to get too teeny tiny like coleslaw. You want it to be a little bit chunkier than that. So you guys, I'm just going to continue to do this until I've got all of it. It'll probably be 2 bowls of this. And then we will come back when we're going to put it in the jars. And we'll show you what that is. What I wanted to tell you guys, when you're cutting your cabbage, now Willis cut it off for me, but you don't want to put the core in there. And because that is too hard and it won't ferment right because of the density of it. So you want to make sure that all of the core is out. You just want the cabbage itself. Okay, now I broke my glasses, so if you see me squinting, it's because I don't have my glasses. But I know what I'm doing. It's just hard for me to see close up. But anyways, what you want is you want your clean jars. These are all clean. Now, I prefer wide mouth because for me it's easier. If you've got regular mouth, it's fine too. It's whatever your preference is, and that's what mine is. So what we're going to do is we're going to pack the cabbage down in these jars, and I'm going to show you how we do that. And then you're going to take, like I said, a teaspoon of salt. You can use canning salt, Himalayan sea salt, whatever kind of salt you want. I just wouldn't use salt with iodine in it. I don't think it does very well, but that's my preference again. So let me get my teaspoon and let me get my funnel. And the house is a mess. We made bread this morning. Like I said, the girls left yesterday. I ran up to Virginia and met Holly up there, and they went home. So it was really quiet, wasn't it, Willis?
Yeah.
It wasn't the same going in the pool today without them. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start with this. Let me put my tripod down so you can see what we're doing. Okay. You've got your jar, you've got your funnel, and we're just going to go ahead and fill it as much as we can right now. I think y'all can see that. Okay. All right. Okay, now it looks full, right? Well, when you're doing sauerkraut, you have to really pack it down in there. You want to get as much as you possibly can. It helps the fermentation process, and also it will be shrinking, and you won't have that much in that jar. It'll just be wasted. So see how much I pounded down there? Halfway. So Willis said his mom used to use his grandpa's hickory handles.
Homemade hickory handle, he'd have a new one that hadn't been used yet.
Yeah. So, but you can, this is one that I dedicate just for this every year. Now, I'm really pressing it down in there, as you can see. And I'm using my funnel because this would be a mess if I didn't. It's a mess anyway, but that's half the fun. And you want to give yourself at least an inch headspace, just like you would with normally canning, because it is going to be fermenting, and you need that air pocket there for the fermentation. Now, this is the way that I guess your granny would be almost 100 years old, wouldn't she?
Yeah, she'd be 100.
100. Yep. So this is a tried and true recipe. And also, it will be shrinking, and you won't have that much in that jar. It'll just be wasted. So see how much I pounded down there? Okay. All right. And I think some of the recipes are really, you know, if they've been tried and true for like 75 years, I think you're good to go. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I've got that to where I want it. I've got it packed down in there, you can see. And I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of salt and just put it on the top. Okay? Now, just like when you are canning, you get ready to process, you're going to want to make sure that your rim is clear of debris. It doesn't have any chips. It doesn't have any kind of problem there. Your jar, you've checked your jar for cracks, and you make sure that they are clean. I use these wide mouths for my sourdough starter a lot because it's a lot easier when you're feeding your starter. So I always have to make sure that I don't have any sourdough starter on there. It's a sticky mess sometimes. But anyway, with filling our jars, and you just keep filling them up. Now for me, this is so much fun because I enjoy this and I love being able to feed my family, be self-sufficient. It's the best part of homesteading is know that you have succeeded, you know, in what you're doing. And this year was a great cabbage year. We grew all these cabbages from seed. I got some beach music on there. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can turn it down a little bit. But it wasn't exactly the right playlist I wanted. Summertime, I like to have that. It reminds me of my mom. So as you can see, I'm almost finished one of these big bowls. How many cabbages did you cut up?
I don't know exactly.
Well, I'm almost finished one of these bowls. So we'll probably just get maybe 4 or 5. You can see how it really packs down. So you need a lot of cabbage. Now, if you wanted to do just a couple jars because you're not a real sauerkraut fan or you just want to try it for the first time, I'd go to the farmer's market and get yourself some pretty decent cabbages. And let me show you what we've got here. I've got them over here on the table. But we've got Flathead Dutch. Now that's a pretty big one. And then this is a, let's see, I think this is a Copenhagen. And so that's kind of like what you would get in the store. That's a pretty decent size. But you're going to need some cabbage, a few cabbages to make your sauerkraut. So I would at least get 2, probably 1 for each jar. Okay, let me set that one aside and I'll start on this one. And I see he's got me some more cabbage cut up back there. So I didn't see that earlier, but I only had these 2 big bowls. I love these bowls. I get them at the thrift shop. I just think they're great because you're not spending a ton of money and you're getting big bowls for canning, or if you're, you know, making soup or something, you want to cut up a lot of vegetables. I think I paid like maybe $3 a piece for those. Now I noticed when I took the granddaughters to the thrift shop last week, because we love to thrift, prices had gone up, but everything's gone up, so I kind of had to expect it. We did get a lot of good stuff, though. I got almost a whole set of Revereware pots and pans. I was so happy because that's really good stuff. And I have a lot of Pioneer Woman pots and pans. But I tell you what, I really like the Revereware too. and you get it a lot cheaper at the thrift stop. And like I said, you want to have about an inch headspace because you want to make sure that you have that for your fermentation, because it's going to have the gases in there. And when you put your lid on, you just want to hand tighten, because it's just like as if you're processing this. It's going to expand and contract as it ferments. You just keep pressing that down. So I don't know how y'all's summer's been going, but ours has been kind of weird. We've had so much rain in July, and this is usually when we have our drought time, when we're out there watering and trying to keep everything alive. I had transplanted some cantaloupes, and right before we had this big storm last week, not realizing it was going to be 5 inches of rain, and we only found one of them had survived. But luckily, all the peppers did. So I was a little sad about the cantaloupes. Well, I might get more than I thought, because this bowl here is bigger than that other one that I just finished. See, that's a pretty big bowl. I don't think they're vintage or anything, but they're a good size for canning. I was wanting to teach the granddaughters how to do the sauerkraut, but they weren't too interested in this. They liked when Grandma was baking and making all the goodies. And we did have some fun. I made homemade Pop-Tarts, which I'm going to do a video on. They turned out, they were so good, I couldn't believe it. And then my neighbor, Kathy, made some banana pudding, and I'd never had it like that. And it's actually a Paula Deen recipe, but it is so good. So I'm going to make that and make a video of that too sometime soon. But we had a good time with them for the 3 weeks they were here. They went back home. I think they go back to school at the last of August in Virginia now. It used to be the day after Labor Day on the East Coast. But they go back the last of August. So they wanted to spend some time with their friends. And you know how it is when it's summertime. Everybody's got things going on. Okay, so this is going to be jar number 6. That's pretty good. I have 9 jars out. And with what he's got cut up back there for me, it may just work out. And you make sure you get it packed down. It's a good arm workout, that's for sure. Let's see. This jar right here is a very old mayonnaise jar given to me by an elderly gentleman. He gave me a whole bunch of jars. That was one that was his mom's. That is big. All right, I'm going to work on one more. I may not get this one filled up. I may have to go ahead and process some more. Yeah, I will. There's that. And I will be right back. Okay, guys, we are now to where we've got all of our jars filled up. We've got our 1 inch headspace, and we're going to go ahead and put our 1 teaspoon of salt in each one. Now, I had already done one to show you earlier, but you just pour it on the top, just like this. And this is going to help ferment the cabbage. Also help with preserving it. Fermentation will really help the process of preserving as well. Okay, and what I've got here is a clean paper towel because I want to go ahead and wipe every one of my rims all the way around, top, sides, everywhere where your rings go, where your lids go. And you make sure, like I said earlier, that your jars don't have any chips, they don't have any debris, they're clean. And if you want, you can just go ahead and, you know, kind of rub your finger over it and you will for sure feel a chip. And if that is the case, you want to throw that jar away or use it for a craft or something because you won't be able to use it for canning. Okay. Because everything needs to be sealed properly. So we just go and do every one of them. My parents tried to make sauerkraut before. This is back in the 70s. They did it the crock pot method. I mean, not crock pot, a crock. And they chopped it and put it in a crock with salt. But for some reason...
Like on butter churn?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. But it molded on them. They had a plate on top, and I think you're supposed to put actual cabbage leaves on top and then weight it down. I don't think they did that because I was talking to her the other day. She said they didn't do that.
I bet you too much air.
Yeah. Man, the house smelled to high heaven. But, so anyway, you just take your lid, clean lid, and you just set it on each one of your jars. Like so. And I think I need one more, but I'll get that in a minute. And then you go ahead and you take your clean rings. Make sure they're not rusty or anything. And you just go ahead and you just hand tight. Not as tight as you possibly can, you know, but just hand tight. Like that. And that is it. Except for placing them in a cool, dry place for about 6 months. Now, I usually check them about 4 months. I've had them ready in 4 months before. Now, this will turn colors. Now, if you see sauerkraut in the store, it turns like a brownish color. With fermentation, you may see a little dark color here. There's not a problem with that. That's just the way it does when it's fermenting. Now that is rusted and I'm going to throw that away. You see that? You don't want to use that. Even if you're processing something else, you don't want that because that is not going to be a good seal. So that is it for sauerkraut at the Lazy K Homestead with me and Willis. We're going to put this in our closet. I'll get him to help me carry him in there. And in about 4 to 6 months, we'll go ahead and do a video, or at least insert it in some video to show you what they look like. But that is your beautiful, going to be sauerkraut from your fresh cabbage. Y'all have a great day from Lazy K Homestead. We'll see you real soon. Bye.